another really good one that I feel like I need to immediately test. Oh, that's surprisingly faster than I was expecting or hoping for, and this is huge. We got a patch for Palworld last night, and the patch notes show some promising changes, a lot of them focused on base issues, but instead of being lame and boring and just reading the patch notes and going, yeah, that's cool that they fixed it, I wanted to go and investigate to see what was fixed and what was not fixed, or how all of this is interacting, because I built my base very poorly. I was thinking like, oh, if I just have a giant storage crate here that's kind of like centralized for all of the resource gathering, boom, the wood and the transport all here will be nice and perfect, except no, because pals would hop up on here and then get stuck, and then like a lot of weird stuff would happen. And it looks like this issue hasn't been solved, so I'm probably just going to submit a ticket through the game like, hey, the pal storage crate, pals just hop up on it and then they get stuck and they stop transporting, so that hasn't been fixed. However, I also want to just kind of see like what bad situations I could create for my base and if anything has gotten better there. So it looks like flying pals don't get stuck in the trees anymore, because I would usually just like, that's the crazy thing. Like, you want a flying pal for transport or like a bird pal. But the problem is they like get stuck in the trees or stuck on the mining and then their transporting gets bad. But it seems like that was one of the things that was fixed a little bit in the patch notes. For the most part, if a pal gets hungry, it'll just like teleport to the feeding area and then like try to go back and resume its work. Flair's just kind of hanging around. I guess he might be on break. So yeah, very complex system, so it's going to take a little bit to be like fully fleshed out. But at this time, things are definitely functioning better. It just means like, oh, you might have to move a few things around if they're still broken, but at least it's going to be easier to make them work with the pals. Seems to be my thing. Also, just don't use the giant storage crate because still pretty buggy, it seems. Also, I think some pals are still having issues if you put like a fence next to the border, because they want to like wander just outside of the range and then they kind of get stuck on something like this. Sometimes they'll just immediately like teleport to the feeding if they get too hungry, or they'll eventually fix themselves. But yeah, some issues still happening with just like pals wandering around getting themselves stuck, and we'll talk about that when we get into the patch notes a bit more. One thing I did want to check is also another base. So I cleared out like the resources I'm going for in that base. I want to see like, did they make it to where things will work AFK? Not really. So I don't know how you solve that one just yet, or if like the devs are working on that. Because I think if you have a multiplayer, like if you have a multiplayer session, but just you playing single player, then all the bases will stay loaded and all the pals will work, and that's kind of the fix for it. But if you're doing purely single player, yeah, it doesn't seem like work is actually done. So then there'll be like rocks that go unmined and stuff like that. Also, these Anubis have been stuck transporting on this patch for a while, so that kind of seems like an issue. Maybe it just happened with the update. So what I'm going to do is pull them out and then put them back in, and maybe that's going to fix the issue and then they won't get stuck there again. It's like little bits of sticky things still happening. Alright, so I'm going to let some things run in the background and see if there's any other issues with the pals, but while that's happening, we can actually go through the patch notes. Major fixes. Fixed an issue where the game would crash under certain conditions. Alright, game crash fixes. I didn't know this was a thing. Fixed an issue where if another player's base pal had 30% hit points or less, it could be captured by using a sphere. Good that that's fixed. PvP isn't in the game yet. We don't have like some kind of PvP sphere yet. Fixed an issue where enemy pals would get stuck in walls due to charge attacks. That makes sense. This, also because I haven't done like insane multiplayer, I wouldn't know about a lot of these things. Implemented the first fix for an issue where the game would always crash and save data would be corrupted when the guild's total number of pals captured reached 7,000. The game no longer crashes even if the total number exceeds 7,000. However, save data that has been in this state prior to this update is still unable to load, but they are working on a fix for this permanently. Yes, this is a huge one. Added support for mouse side keys and numeric keypad and keyboard configuration. Further improvements are currently planned for interact key configuration as well. Actually, I gotta go and set that up right now because I like using my little gamer buttons. So what I like doing is I like changing crouch to one of my mouse buttons, and then I like putting roll on the other mouse button. So we'll see how that looks. And then they did change a couple other things that don't look like you can change the direct control for them. Because now, instead of picking up a pal, it's not F, it's the V key, which is really nice. So that means you don't accidentally interact with anything, or you don't accidentally, like, hop on your pal. You can just pick up with V now. Yeah, I like having crouch on the mouse because it's easier to, like, keep my movement going and then crouch and do strategic stuff, or, like, combat rolls especially. And then if you want to do the tech where you actually do the slide downhill, that's actually a lot easier and more accessible. So pretty nice. I like that change. Fixed an issue where players on dedicated servers were receiving damage twice. Specifications have been changed so you can move at extremely low speed even when you have exceeded the weight limit. That's also another really good one that I feel like I need to immediately test. Because in a lot of games, unless you have like super duper extreme encumbrance, you could still walk in some amount. Oh, that's surprisingly faster than I was expecting or hoping for. And this is huge. This also means that you're not like forced to use a grappling gun. And depending on your state of the game, like if you just have the basic grappling gun that's really bad, you're not just like completely stuck moving like 3 inches every couple of seconds. But with this, it means like you can actually transport massive amount of stuff across your base, even if you're super duper over the weight limit. That's amazing. That's very nice. Also, while reading the patch notes, it looks like we still have a few issues. I'm wondering if a lot of these can be fixed by, oh, the PAL was already out before the update. So if you just kind of pull it in and bring it back out, that'll like fix most of the issues because now it's going to have the better AI interaction. So yeah, we're going to see how that works out. Players will no longer pass through walls when dismounting. I guess that's another thing we gotta test, because it's really easy to make happen, especially if you have something like a jet dragon. How many times has this happened to you? Oh, a mine shaft. Just pretend there's a mine shaft here. I'm going to dismount. Oh, wow, nice. And then put you like straight into the climbing animation. That could still leave some jank inside of caves. But yeah, it would just shove you straight into that wall, and then you'd have to like find some gamer movements to get out. Or you'd have to like recast your PAL and then glitch your way back through the wall. Yep, we're fine. Awesome. Fixed an issue where capture power strengthened by life monk effigies was reset when using memory reset drugs. This happened on stream because I got the drugs from like killing Lovander. I was like, yo, I put everything into wait for the early game, but now that I'm maxed out, I don't have to worry about wait. Let's immediately reset. And then by the time we had the stream delay, everyone, no, don't do it, it resets. And then I lost everything. Now the capture power has not been restored, but at least it won't be reset, so you don't accidentally just get bodied by that. Fixed an issue where armor could be equipped in the wrong slot. I knew about this, but we don't cheat on this channel. We don't glitch. We don't exploit, because obviously it's going to get patched, and that means it's cheating because it's completely unintended and it gives you an advantage in the game. So what you could do is you could actually take from the slot and then move it over onto an armor. So what it used to be is just that, like that simple. And as you can see, they hard locked it out now. So you could actually wear like all the heat resistant armor in one slot, or like heat resistant armor here, cold resistant on the body, and then whatever defense pendant, and be like super cracked. So actually that's going to make it harder for some people to play, because they were crutching on needing like an extra 400 defense and weather resistances. I actually wonder how many people knew about that glitch, but it got fixed. So yeah, they are responding to a lot of the bug reports, even some of the niche ones. That's really nice. And then just giving us quality of life, like the encumbrance. Adjusted camera positions of several PALs to make it easier to see when mounted. Oh, is that going to be like just another super awesome one? Because Jet Dragon had a really bad problem to where if you try to scope in and use its ability, it would just like put you inside of it and then you couldn't see anything. Yo, the quality of life, yo! The game is functioning. But this is only 0.1.4. We're not even 0.2 yet for early access. Game's going great. Then we go into the base issues. Specifications have been changed so that PALs who are manually assigned to a breeding farm will not become hungry, and their manual assignments will not be removed. Okay, that's huge. That speeds up breeding massively, but it also makes sense, because if they're eating cake, they shouldn't be hungry. And then they're getting all their breeding stuff. So yeah, that's actually really awesome, and people were complaining about that on my breeding guide, where it's like, hey, I can't get PALs to stay in. They'll just like find a new assignment, or they'll get stuck, or they'll eat or something, and it just seems too slow. So huge breeding changes. The key to lift PAL has been changed. Reduce the speed and range of fire spreading on wooden buildings. Yeah, that was like some Minecraft alpha stuff on how fast bases were being destroyed by certain raids or PALs. Make your base out of stone, kids. Fixed an issue where manual work assignments could not be set at all under certain circumstances. I haven't tested this one like fully to see what was fixed and what wasn't, because it's mostly just something that happens where you're like, please assign to this. Assign to this, not the rock. This. No, alright, it's just wandering off back to the mining station. I guess it's just bricked. So hopefully that fixes most of the issues, and now you can just throw a pal on a thing and it'll work, and it's only going to get better as we get into more updates. Fixed an issue where extremely high level Relaxaurus would attack the base during raids. Oof, that sounds like not fun. Several measures to prevent base pals from getting stuck. So this is kind of like the big one, and there's still going to be more measures. There's still going to be stuff. My observation, like I said, is it seems like they teleport to the feeding basket if like something goes kind of wrong, but they can still get stuck on certain objects, and I'm gonna submit a bug report for that one. Fixed an issue where pals would get stuck while transporting items and drop them on the spot. We just saw that happen with that grass pal, so again, maybe resetting it, that's not going to happen again. Maybe it's still a little bit of an issue. Again, early access, this game functions way too well for an early access game. It's almost a polished release and actually has about the same amount of issues as a AAA full release of a game. So it's doing great. I'm not trying to like, when it's like, oh, look at that, that's still broken. That's not like a hard criticism. That's actually just me testing the current state of the game and the patch. Fixed an issue where pals at the base would continue to cut down trees that were already cut. Yeah, that's a problem, but now it's no longer a problem. And also, the thing is, a lot of my janky bases, I've either rebuilt or removed or like relocated or something, so I can't hard test or like hard observe these things. But it's like, oh yeah, I had that issue. If that's no longer a problem, great. Great that it's solved. Fixed an issue where pals at the base were on the verge of death due to unexplained falling damage. That happened a lot. We were just wandering around. It's like, how are you incapacitated? Yeah, just falling damage, something, getting stuck. Fixed an issue where pals at the base would float under some conditions. So I'm pretty sure that's when, like, you just look up. It's like, hey, buddy, what you doing up there? That's not good. So, like, just some random stuff like that, and then that could also lead to problems. But that seems to be fixed. Very nice. And then fixed an issue where if a farm was built on the second floor above, work pals would be unable to move on the floors below. That's... yeah, I did not want to take the pathing and working of how these pals interact and then try to add that and like, oh yeah, the farming station is up in the second floor of the house. Good luck, have fun. Nah. And then just some other stuff. Minor fixes, UI key guide, measures have been added to prevent cheating. Bro, it's crazy. Palworld already caring more about cheating than the Pokemon Company. This is why Palworld's winning. Corrected incorrect text. Boom. Yeah, awesome. And then last thing I wanted to check was how the pals were interacting in the other base. I wonder if this has been like addressed by the devs on the Discord, even though I think it should be like a big announcement where it's like, hey, pals for working are not working when like outside of a base or something. But it really only seems to be an issue with mining bases or like things that aren't workstations, because the stone, these Anubis were mining the entire time I was doing the patch notes. Same thing for this. Drummondtide was setting up the Paldium fragments. So I think it like simulates everything on the base that is like built and attached to the base, but it doesn't simulate, you know, picking up loose things on the ground or mining the ores that spawn in the world. I don't know if that's intended. I don't know if that has like a planned fix, or if they're going to like start, once the game gets more optimized, they can actually dedicate memory and resource allocation to doing this while you're away from the base. And again, it seems to function in multiplayer, like the entire base is loaded and all of that still runs. So I've had times where I come back to a base, I'm like, hey, I've got thousands of ore and coal, but then recently it just seems like, yeah, that doesn't function, but all of the other processing and stuff does. So if you want to have a mining base going, you want everything to be mined, and then you want to have everything get processed before you leave while you're waiting for that 30-40 minute interval where everything is respawning. Also, it looks like transport pals are still only grabbing one thing at a time. I'm going to put that in my issue report as well. But there we go, guys. Patch notes looking good. A lot of the issues either completely fixed or functioning better, and the game experience is going to be much better overall. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.